What's happening, guys? This is James Blum with MMOHuts.com, bringing you an updated look at Smite, the Battlegrounds of the Gods, which is now officially launched after being in beta for what seems like 2 whole years. And during this time, the game has undergone so many changes. I mean, the first time we looked at Smite, it looked like this. And now, the game looks a little bit more like this. Every aspect has changed except for its core fundamental element, which is its style of gameplay. Smite is a third-person MOBA style game focused around the lore of gods of various pantheons, and now that the launch is here, there are 51 to choose from, some of which have been reworked to better suit their lore. So, seeing so much has changed from our original look at the game, I figured a launch refresher would be in order to show you guys just what the game has to offer now that it's launched. Alright, so let's start out by talking about some of the new game modes. In the beginning, back in closed beta and whatnot, you had Conquest, which is the standard 3-lane map that we know and love, with your 5 original gods to choose from, pretty much. And later on, you could actually test your might against the dreadful Manticore, which I'm pretty sure that thing never hurt anyone. But anyway, now you've got pretty much 4 set-in-stone different game modes, and several others that you can probably consider game modes themselves. You've got Conquest, the original one, the 3-lane map we're used to with towers, minions, a jungle, and now Titans, all of which has had a huge makeover over the beta time frame. You've got Assault, which can also be referred to as ARAM, all random, all mid. It's a single-lane map with towers, minions, and Titans, but no jungle. And unless it's a custom-created match, all the gods are picked at random, so you have no idea who you're going to begin to get here. The cool thing here is that even if you might not own any of the particular gods that you get chosen for, it doesn't actually keep you from enjoying this game mode. Plus, that gives you the opportunity to try out the new gods randomly. It's kind of how I figured out which gods I liked in the beginning. Now, unfortunately, I always get stuck with playing the one god that I can't stand, which is Bacchus. Not that he's bad, he just, you know, I don't like him. Now the next one is Joust. This one's actually similar to Assault with 1 lane. It's got towers, minions, Titans, but it does have a jungle, and it is a 3v3 map, so it can actually get pretty competitive. So with this one, you're really going to want to balance out your team. But at the same time, it can actually help you work on watching out for jungle ganks, as well as learn how to properly place wards, which actually have also been updated to give you an audible alert, which is nice. You can actually hear it. It tells you when enemies are about to kill you from the sides. Plus, the map is really fitting. It actually looks like a medieval jousting setup. And like I said, this one can get really competitive. Every single jousting match that I played has always been a really close match. Now, Arena, on the other hand, is a straight-up deathmatch at its finest. It's set up in an open circular map with a few camps for buffs, and minions pushing from either side as another way to score points besides the main objective, which is basically bashing in your enemy's face, or in this case, killing them with love as Cupid. This very well could be my favorite game mode. The coolest part of Arena, though, is it can potentially appeal to anyone. Even gamers that don't really like MOBAs can play Smite specifically for Arena and never actually play any other game mode and still like the game. It's kind of interesting to know that Smite is probably one of the only MOBA-type games where people actually like to play the alternate game modes just as much as the primary one. And that concept goes along with the other feature that they've added in, which is the Smite Match of the Day, which you could technically consider another game mode itself because it changes on a daily basis and it can take place on any of the other maps. Some days it might be on Arena, other days it could be Assault. Whatever it may be on, it usually has special conditions tied into it, like you might have a Battle of the Beards, so to speak, an arena battle where players can only choose gods with beards. It can be melee only or mages only. Who knows? That's the cool part. And on launch day, it's an Assault map with all gods available with double pick. Oh yeah, Sun Wukong Army. And once again, the cool thing here is whatever the match of the day is, if you don't own the god, you still get to play. Here's another one, Egyptian Roulette. A random Egyptian god is assigned to everyone in the match for total domination. And it's set on the domination map, which could also be considered a game mode, seeing that you can create a custom domination map, and it's part of the match of the day quite often. Not to mention they're in the process of revamping domination and putting it back into the game as a regular game mode. So now Smite has quite a few options for game modes, and everyone has access to them. And if you get good, you can start playing in ranked matches. And in the near future, players can earn special rewards for competing in the league matches, with each tier having unique rewards. But this is still a work in progress, seeing that the leagues are still fairly new. Another cool feature they added in is masteries. So when you play a match of any type, minus the custom ones or practice, win or lose, you gain worshippers, and depending on the length of the match, the more worshippers you can potentially gain. Once you've earned a certain number of worshippers, you can gain a god rank and a mastery point, indicating that you've mastered that particular god, adding 1 point to your overall mastery points. And seeing that they now have 51 gods, the highest mastery, of course, is 51. Now, you can rank up any particular god all the way up to rank 10 individually, but you'll need a ton of worshippers because with each god rank, the number of worshippers required increases exponentially. So you'll notice that there's a big difference between ranks 5 and 6, for example. And as of right now, this is essentially an intimidation feature. If you're playing a match in Assault, for example, and you're up against someone who has mastered 45 gods or so, and you've only mastered 2, I'm pretty sure it's safe to say they're going to rip you a new one this match. Or even more so if they've got a legendary skin on their god. That means that they're at least god rank 10 with that particular god. Lots of wins, in other words. Hi-Rez also put a limitation on ranked matches. In order to compete in ranked, you have to have at least 15 gods or so mastered. This helps pull in players that have experience with basically all the different roles in the game. Now, the gameplay mechanics, items, map visuals, and even the gods themselves have seen some massive changes over the beta time frame. The gods, for example, are set up so that way they're not so pigeonholed into their typical role. You can basically build a support to be full AP and still do a decent amount of damage, or even build a tank with some damage to become a real pain in the ass for the enemy team. But honestly, this helps players get creative and easily identify what gods they like, or hate in some cases. And on a similar note, with the items, the actives have now been separated from the other items in the shop to give you a little bit more freedom when building your god. So if you're having a problem with Poseidon, for example, you can pick up purification beads and pretty much just walk away from the Kraken. Or you can pick up salvation to heal and restore mana. Stuff like that. Overall, it makes the items easier to decide on based on this situation at hand. And another thing they've gone towards is sharing is caring. So last hitting minions isn't as big of a deal as it used to be. And now if team members are within a certain proximity, they earn a small percentage of gold based off of nearby player kills and minion kills, which puts more emphasis on harassing the lane. There are actually lots of little game mechanic changes that they've made so far, but it's kind of hard to talk about them all, so these are just some that seem fairly significant. For example, they changed the way jungle camps work. Once you kill them, they physically drop the buff and only one team member can pick it up. The nice thing about this is your jungler can go around killing these monsters and the buff can be left there for a little while to be picked up when you can get to it, keeping you in your lane longer. And of course, you probably noticed they label the camp so that way it's obvious what you're going for. But in general, they've changed the look and feel of the Conquest map entirely, opening up the jungle, making the scenery contrast a bit more, indicated the radius of the towers better, got rid of the minotaurs and swapped them for titans, and plenty of other stuff to make the visuals better and help with the gameplay functionality. And they've adjusted the view angle over time to allow you to see better, which is nice. This is also something they did with the Assault map, Joust map, and Arena, which actually alternates between day and night arena maps. Pretty cool. But honestly, the best way to see the changes in scenery is the Spectator Mode that they added in and tweaked for esports. With this, you've got complete control over the camera. You can roam around freely, slow the game down, speed it up, and rewind it to watch team fights over and over again to analyze them a little bit better. And you can see here, you can hop from each of the players by clicking on their names. Not to mention you can see their build right here. The Spectator Mode is definitely a good tool for players wanting to capture top plays and sharing them on YouTube. Just saying. Regardless, you can see the details in the map quite nicely and how much it's changed. Honestly, one of my favorite aspects of Smite is with each god they add, they really try hard and research to go into the lore behind each one of them, thus making their look and playstyle represent that lore in the best way possible. So, over the course of the beta, we've seen several reworks to the gods, but most notable has probably been Sun Wukong, whose model previously looked like this. The model and playstyle they now use for Hun Bats. Basically, it's a little bit different. It's actually not the same. But with Sun Wukong, they completely changed the character model and type, making him a bruiser with completely different abilities, for the better.
With Sun Wukong, we received a lot of feedback from our friends at Tencent. A major problem was that we went with much more historical depiction than the modern versions which are shown in movies and games today. Now, Sun Wukong is the badass he's supposed to be. He has heroic proportions and his general presentation is more confident and serious.
They've also added in some badass skins along the way, stuff like Lil Mana here, and Aphrodite,
Enemies in right lane.
Poseidon, Infiltrator Loki, and my new favorite, Dark Lord Sun Wukong. Now, who does that remind you of? Not to mention voice packs, which are equally as awesome, especially Hebrew.
Defend!
And some cool news is they're actually working on implementing interactive dialogue between the gods, like when certain gods kill other gods, when you buy items, or even when you take down a tower. It just goes to show that even though the game is now launched, they're still adding in tons of stuff to fine-tune the game. And honestly, I don't see it slowing down anytime soon. And they always seem to have some sort of promotion going on, whether it be a gem giveaway or free skins. Like here, you can get an Artemis skin by following @SmiteGame on Twitter. But one thing I've always liked is the ability to pay only one time to unlock all the gods with the Ultimate God Pack. I mean, if you get into the game and you actually like it, you spend 30 bucks and you get all the gods that have come out so far and all the gods that will continue to come out from now on. It's not that bad of a deal, seeing that some free-to-play games have you spend upwards of 190 bucks just to get something similar, you know, with founders packs and whatnot. Either way, it's not a bad deal, and there's no doubt that the game has come a long ways from beta to launch. They've made their mark in the esports scene. In fact, right now the launch tournament is about to start with over $200,000 on the line. Not a bad start. And with the third-person perspective of Smite, along with the Spectator Mode that they're always working on, it's actually pretty fun to watch. And it's available to watch nearly 24/7. I mean, literally, they never stop streaming it. But anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Check out Smite if you haven't already. It's definitely my favorite MOBA-style game by far. I just think that it can be appealing to just about everyone. And if you do want to check it out, check the link in the description below to download the game. Otherwise, head over to the MMOHuts game profile for more info, videos, and guides on Smite. But until next time, guys, that's going to be it for me. I'm James Blonde. See you out there, gamers.
An ally has been slain.